Okay, so coming into a comfortable seated position and making sure that you're really supported in the back of your body. And in order to sit comfortably, you do want to have a fairly upright spine. So sometimes we bring the head and the shoulders against the wall, but the pelvis can sometimes sneak forwards, which means essentially that we're kind of slumping. So you might actually be more in this position, which is going to put a lot of pressure through your back, but also through your rib cage and ultimately your breath. So you need to make sure that the back of your pelvis is against the wall or whatever you're using to support you, the door or the wall. And then make sure that your shoulder blades are touching the wall as well. So I appreciate we've got this rail round, which is horrible head height, so it tends to push the head forwards. So if that's the case, what you can do is place your pillow kind of in your lower or middle back, and then that'll just give you a little bit more space, or maybe a block, behind you, just to allow you to come into a more comfortable position. So you can kind of play around and make it as comfortable as you can. And then from there, just easing yourself into whatever comfortable position suits you best. So in terms of what's happening in the legs, you can adapt it to whatever feels right for you. So sitting cross-legged is fine up to around 34 weeks, and then we recommend not doing that because it kind of compresses the blood flow, which is at 34 plus weeks already under a lot of restriction. So it's better to keep the legs a little bit more open. Likewise, if you've got SPD or any hip pain, you might find that it's not comfortable to sit cross-legged. So your other options are to just have the legs out in front. Wide is a little bit better because it's easier to do that than having the legs out straight. But the other position is what we call butterfly pose, having the soles of the feet together and the knees out. This is a nice stretch for the hips. So you can sit in this position. It's more open in the legs, so it doesn't restrict the blood flow in the same way that sitting cross-legged does. So you can choose what you're comfortable in. Okay, and then from here, just imagine that your sitting bones are rooting you down into the ground. So feel a real connection between your sitting bones and the ground. And then from there, from that feeling of being rooted, where the whole of your pelvis is rooting down, see if you can find a little bit of spaciousness through the rest of your body as if it's lengthening upwards. And this creates a bit of space around the belly. So our belly is kind of the geographical centre of our body. And emotionally is currently the centre of your world, because this is where you're growing your beloved baby. But geographically it's the centre as well. So you're allowing the lower half of the body to relax down and to root, to feel grounded, and then you're allowing the upper part to lengthen up to create spaciousness. And then if you bring the backs of your hands onto the legs, that opens up the chest and the shoulders. So you might feel a little bit more spacious in the upper body. And you can bring your thumb and your first finger together if that feels comfortable. So we use this a lot in yoga. It's a mudra, which is a hand gesture. So this particular one we use a lot in meditation, and it is the mudra for wisdom. Jnana mudra, meaning wisdom. It's just quite a nice one to open the chest. There is another mudra which we use quite a lot in pregnancy yoga because it's the mudra for the womb, but it's also one of balance. So you can have a play with it. I sometimes use this for meditating because it's just really comfortable. So you bring the hands together and then you interlace all the fingers. And then you just release the index fingers. But then you pull the thumbs back. And what you've got here, if you bring the palms down, finger touch it, points down towards the floor, and this shape here is kind of symbolic of the womb. And then you can place your hands over the belly or wherever you feel comfortable. So that also opens up the shoulders. If that's not comfortable to maintain, you can just go back to the hands on the back of the legs. Or you can, as I say, you can hold this position. So whichever is the right one for you. And then from here, just gently closing your eyes. Just taking some time to settle into your physical body. So just noticing how your body feels tonight. Noticing any particular niggles you might be having, any changes that you might be experiencing in your body. And then allow your awareness to move to your baby. So still with your attention on your physical body, noticing what's happening in the belly. So you might be aware of a little bit of movement. Your baby might be having a wriggle. You might be aware that your baby is hiccuping. That's quite a common thing. You get these little bumps, little lumps. You might be aware that your baby is currently resting or sleeping. So they sleep about every 20 minutes. So 20 minutes sleep, 20 minutes of activity, 20 minutes of sleep. This is a kind of general rhythm that babies have inside the womb. And then from here, just turn your awareness to your breath. Feel the sensation, first of all, of the breath moving in through the nostrils. Notice how the breath feels. Are you able to breathe deeply, fully? Or is there a feeling of restriction now arriving from the lack of space that you are beginning to cultivate as your baby takes up more of your abdominal space? And then shift your awareness down into your throat and just begin to slightly restrict the muscles around your throat. So you are finding just a gentle sound, the ocean breath. So just hearing the sound of the waves as you lightly restrict the flow of the breath through the muscles in the throat. And then noticing this rhythmical pattern that you have with your breathing. So noticing the feeling of expanding as you breathe in. And notice this feeling of relaxing as you breathe out. So with each breath that you take, feeling these two different energetic qualities. On the inhale, it's very active. You're bringing the air into the body, which is going to circulate around, give you all the energy that you need. And then as you breathe out, it's very much more of a relaxing energy. So feeling the difference between the two, and also feeling the rhythm that you have. So in a lot of cases, the out breath is sometimes longer than the in breath. So you might notice that as well. There's no need to have an equal inhalation and exhalation. And then as well as this feeling of expansion, activity, and then relaxation, I'd like you to see if you can feel a more subtle quality to the breath, which is one of rising and falling. So as we breathe in, the subtle energy of the inhalation is one of upward movement. And as we breathe out, the subtle energy of our exhale is one of downward movement. So as well as expansion and relaxation, can you feel the upward moving and downward moving qualities? It's much more subtle than the physical movement of expansion and contraction. And the downward quality that comes with the exhalation is the quality that we need during labour, particularly during the delivery phase. But generally speaking, labour has this downward moving quality of energy, which is why we utilise the exhalation so much with the birthing breaths. So the more you can utilise your exhalation, the more you can lengthen your out breath, the more you're going to harness this subtle downward moving energy. So thinking of it like a cafetiere every time you breathe out. It's just gentle plunging down with energy. So keeping the breath going and keeping this awareness of the up and down movements can gently extend the legs out if they're not already. And then just bring the palms of your hands together. I'm going to move the legs and the arms with the inhalation and the exhalation. So as you breathe in, you're going to push the hands out to the side as if you're pushing two pillars. This is quite a nice way to stretch widthways through the chest, but you're also going to roll the legs out, so little toes come towards the floor. And then on the out breath, you're going to bring the hands back together and you're going to roll the legs in so the big toes come towards the floor. So same thing again, inhaling, everything moves outwards, so still with that gentle ocean breath. And as you breathe out, everything gathers back together. And just do that a few more times, but go with your own rhythm. So whatever speed and rhythm your breath is, you can follow it. And just do that one more time. And then relax. So you might need to shuffle a little bit away from the wall for this next one because you probably are going to want to lean back. Take the feet as wide as you're comfortable. So it's quite nice to take the feet a lot wider than the mat. And obviously if there's any hip pain, so there's two types of discomfort when you're moving and stretching. And the first one is like a dull ache. This is stretching a tight muscle. And then there's a sharp pain which kind of takes your breath away, and that's where you've pinched a nerve. And they're the ones we need to avoid. So if you get any sharp stabbing pains at any point, then you miss it out. If it's a dull ache, you just breathe through it. Okay, so just dropping both knees to one side. You can do that as you breathe out, so using, harnessing that relaxing quality. And then inhaling back to the centre. And then exhaling over to the other side. And inhaling, coming all the way back. And just continuing a few more times. So this one, Karen, is quite a nice one for the hips because it kind of gets both articulations and everything in between, so internal and external. Is that feeling okay? Is that?
Yeah. And it feels like, as I'm going over it, it feels really tight, but in a good, like...
In a kind of, I need this, even though it's uncomfortable,
as much as I don't like
need
it,
this.
I know that I need to.
Yeah, so just do it a couple more times. And it might be one to do, do at home. Sit on the floor, do that for a couple of minutes. Are you moving further down your mat?
Yeah. Spot my I was thinking.
Maybe I then you can just take the legs out, give them a little bounce. So these rebounding movements are quite nice as well. So jiggling, moving the legs. Okay, so from here, can you come over onto your hands and onto your knees, please? And I'm going to work through a few simple movements. So some of these we can use for the pelvic strengthening, but they're also really good moves to do anyway. As I've mentioned countless times, anytime you're on all fours is really useful, because this is the best position to give your baby space. So when you come onto all fours, do you automatically feel your baby kind of having a little bit more space to move about? There's less pressure through the abdomen. So I remember when I was pregnant, this was so nice just to lean forwards and relieve all the muscular and ligament tension in the belly. So all fours sort of is a really, really good position. So we're going to create a U shape with the hips. So you're going to press your hips over to the right side. And then you're going to take the hips as far back towards your heel as you can, obviously, you know, baby permitting. And then, once you can't go back any further, you're going to sweep the hips across to the left side and then push the hips through that left side until you come all the way back to the centre. So imagine you're drawing a U shape with your hips. And then we go the other way. So push the left hip out, back towards the left heel, sweep across towards the right side, and then push all the way through the right side. Does that make sense? So do that a few more times. So this is one of our pelvic girdle strengthening moves. And what you might also feel is a bit of a stretch in the, they're known as the hip flexors. So it's quite interesting because there's two hip flexors. And I know, you know, a lot of yoga teachers call these muscles here the hip flexors. These are your quads, and they're called the hip flexors because they flex the leg. But actually, this what I call the saddlebags, these ones on the side are actually, this collection here are also called the hip flexors. These ones are not so often stretched because you have to get into some funny positions to stretch these, but it is really good to loosen these when you're pregnant. Okay, so just doing one more of these little U shapes. And then coming back to the centre. So from here, can you tuck your toes under, roll the spine to the ceiling. Remember to make space for your baby, so just taking the knees as wide as you need them to be, and then tuck the tailbone under, really push the spine to the ceiling so the back is as round as you can get it. And then just kind of wriggle the hips from side to side. So Lizzie, I'm just going to come and, because you're perception of rounded back.
Yeah,
okay, so I just put my hands in.
Yeah.
So can you push my hand away? Push it way more. Yeah, there, that's it. So can you feel, so that's your back stretch now.
Yeah.
So imagine every time we do this, imagine my hands are here and you're trying to push them away. And what you'll feel, is it okay if I touch your pelvis?
Yeah.
It's this. So it's
Okay.
like the tailbone tucking under and everything else reaching up, you're pushing my hands away. Yeah, and what you're doing is you're lengthening all these muscles here. So it's a great move to get into.
Yeah, every time you say that, I can't do it.
It's a, yeah, it'll come. We'll drum it into you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just sometimes the brain doesn't, you know, I have the same, left and right is my nightmare. I've got a clue. Okay, so from here, sorry, I kept you there a little bit longer.
It's alright, just keep going really really veiny at the moment. That's something.
Carpal tunnel.
Is that what it is?
Very likely. It's very common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they hurt? Let's get everybody moving. Sorry, I'm just talking again. So what I was going to do here is, with the toes tucked under, roll the spine to the ceiling, and then kind of wriggle from side to side a few times. That gets really into the lower back, and then what you're going to do is take the hips back towards the heel with the toes tucked under. So it's a little bit of an easier stretch than having the feet flat on the floor. You may also want to sway from side to side here, if it's available to you, if you haven't got too much baby in the way. But again, it's a really nice stretch to the lower back. And then from here, what I would suggest is come up onto your fingertips, keeping the buttocks back on the heels,
Come up onto the fingertips and just see if you can squeeze your chest towards the floor with the arms straight. So it's kind of like a puppy dog pose. But you're getting this lovely stretch in between the shoulder blades. And then from here, flatten the hands, inhale, push the toes into the ground, rise up. And then same again, exhale, so using your ocean breath, round the back, tuck the tailbone under, and then take the hips back to the heels. So remember my hands on your back there, Lizzie? That's it, got it. And then just take the hips to the heels in that position. Yeah. Can you feel that lovely stretch in your back now?
I'm getting there with it. I have to really think about it.
That's all right. If you do it enough times, it will just click. Yeah. It's just we sometimes have to retrain our body to do things that we've never done before. Yeah. And then the same thing again as you inhale, come all the way back up. And then just do that one more time. So round the back, push the spine to the ceiling, and then take the hips all the way back to the heels. And then from there, come onto your fingertips, stretch the chest towards the floor so you get this really nice upper body stretch. And then inhale, come all the way back up. So let's just sit back for a moment because we're going to do quite a lot of all fours work here. So what I want you to do is release the wrists. So wrists, yeah, we haven't spoken about wrists, but it's really, really common. I mean, they kind of lump all of the sensations together as carpal tunnel and then go the other way. But, well, they call it carpal tunnel syndrome, but it's basically things that happen in your hands and your wrists as a consequence to pinching the nerves in the carpal tunnel, which happens in your shoulders. So what you can do is wrists up and down. It happens, as I say, in a lot of moms during pregnancy. And then you can go from side to side. And it tends to happen a lot first thing in the morning, like if you're laying on your side, that's when you're giving even more compression into the shoulders, and also and also what happens when you're
pregnancy. I feel like if there's a list of symptoms,
that's quite often the case.
Down the list.
And then thumbs in, wrap the fingers, and you can give it a bigger circle. So at night when you're sleeping, you tend to gather more fluid in the body as well, because you're not peeing every 20 minutes. You tend to gather fluid, so you get more compression in the night. Plus you're lying on one of the sides, and then go the other way. And then what happens is you get even more pressure in this carpal tunnel, which is coming through your shoulder. So you've got the bundle of nerves. So the carpal tunnel is like a smaller spinal cord. It's like a collection of all the nerves that these very dexterous digits need. It's quite a big bundle, but it gets compressed up here, and then you get numbness, tingling, swelling. In your case, veins in veins as well. You wake up in the morning. Some women wake up in the morning, they've got claw hands. That's quite common, and they have to sort of ease out their body so that they can undo the claw.
I have my fingers swell and then my veins just go like really veiny.
Yeah. So what I would suggest is liberate here more.
Okay.
Because that's where it's coming from. So if you get any problems here, it's coming from here. So you might just want to do some neck releases, or what Pippa's doing. But just creating some space in the shoulders.
Yeah.
There you go. You found the culprit then. Stiff shoulders. Yeah, go and get yourself a massage. Or go back to Helen. She'll do your shoulders.
Yeah.
Okay, and then coming back onto your hands and your knees. Now, I used to have all this great equipment before COVID. I used to have wedges that were really good for carpal tunnel. I haven't got them anymore. But what you could try coming on the edge of your pillow. So when you're on all fours, I used to have a wedge that I would put under here, so it reduces the angle. So something like that. So can you see the difference where you're not so here?
Just as soon as they're down, can you see how pronounced my veins just go ridiculous at the moment? Feels really funny.
So I'll try and reduce the amount of time we're here, and then we'll intersperse it with other things. So stretch the right leg all the way back, push the heel away, and really lengthen into the calf muscle. Kick the door or kick the cupboard. If you're too hot, Karen, because you barely got any clothes left on. No, it's fine. It's quite warm actually. I turn the heater, so you've got the knob there. You're in charge. You can turn the knob halfway down. Yeah, we don't want to get down to your knickers.
Feel free to though. No one will judge.
If you take any more off, then I'll
So yeah, Bikram. Cross that leg over now, and then just for 5 seconds, really squeeze the two thighs together. Don't hold your breath. And then turn your chest so that you can look back at your foot. So that a nice look to the side of the body. And then come back to the centre. Take the leg back onto the floor, push the toes away, and then a little bit of strength work, take the left arm away. You can stay there, or you can lift the right leg off the floor. Now I wouldn't recommend this if you're near dew because it's probably a little bit too much. But you'll probably realise that as soon as you try and get the leg off the floor. And then bring the hand down, bring the foot down. And then bring the knee, so you can circle it around or you can just step it through depending on what feels comfortable. And then you're going to push up. We'll have a little bit of wrist relief before we do the other side. So take the arms all the way up and then lengthen through one side, lengthen through the other side. Keep pushing into the floor with your right foot and imagine that you're squeezing your thighs together so we can still work the muscles that are supporting the symphysis pubis by imagining you're squeezing your two thighs together. So it's called an isometric stretch, which means we're moving the muscles in a particular way but without actually doing the action that would normally require. And then take the arms all the way back, interlace the fingers, squeeze the shoulder blades together. So these movements are quite good as well, particularly if you're hunching over a computer during the day, and that can really lead to carpal tunnel as well. So you might want to ease it out, have a wriggle, and stretch, or you might just want to draw the arms down, so whatever feels right. And then just circle the arms. As you take them up, give it a shake, and then bring them all the way down. And then take that leg back. Now send the left leg all the way back and push the heel away. And just do that for a couple more breaths so you can really get that calf muscle to lengthen. And then cross it behind the right leg. And grip the thighs together, or imagine you're squeezing them together for 5 seconds, but don't stop breathing. And then take the leg. Oh, so we haven't done the side stretch. Keep the leg and cross behind. Turn the chest so that you can look back at your foot. And then come all the way back. Take the leg back to the centre, and then if you want to, take the right arm away. Push into the left hand and notice how that gives you a little bit more strength. Now if it feels okay, you can lift the left leg away as well. If it doesn't feel okay, then leave it on the floor. Lower the hand, lower the leg, and then bring the left foot forwards. Push onto the thigh and rise up. Take the arms up over the head. This time interlace your fingers, push the palms away. Lift the rib cage, but push down through the left foot. So keeping the lower part of the body really grounded. Exhale, gently ease over to one side. Inhale back to centre, keep pushing down into the ground with the parts of your body that are touching the ground. Exhale to the other side. Inhale, come up. And then again, just imagining that you are squeezing your thighs together, and then circle the wrists, and all the way down. And then this time, can you hold opposite elbows behind your back? So this is a slightly stronger move. So kind of wriggle the arms towards each other, trying to touch opposite elbows. Notice how that it gives you more of a stretch across the chest. And keep pushing left foot, right shin into the ground, breathing. And then release, come all the way down, and then slide the leg all the way back. Now take the right leg back again. Now you're going to keep the hips completely static, and you're just going to kind of dip the knee to the floor and then straighten it. I'm going to turn around so you can see. So what it is, it's just dipping the knee. Okay, I'm not using any other part of my body, and what's happening when I dip that knee is that all of the weight of my body is now supported with the left buttock. So the left buttock is having to work strongly. So it's a pelvic girdle strengthener. It's not this, because that's not really doing anything. You just kind of want to almost like just let go of this leg and then straighten it back up, so that all of the effort is being held in the left buttock. So if you're not feeling that in your left buttock, you are good. Doing it right. Yeah, so the buttock muscles form part of the pelvic girdle. So when we do pelvic girdle strengthening, that the glutes are part of that whole girdle. So if you why it's called the pelvic girdle. Okay. And then from there you can slide. We did the right leg, didn't we? Right leg, slide the knee all the way forwards. Now, Emma, if at any point this isn't comfortable, give it a miss. Yeah. Okay. So this is stretching the quads at the back now, as well as stretching into the hips. You can just gently rock from side to side. You might not get far again, depending on how much baby space you have available. And then push that leg all the way back. Now left leg straightens all the way out. Something else that you could do. I've only got what have I got in terms of blocks? What you can do is that.
Yes, I was just doing that. That is better. Thank you.
Have those. I would normally use 2 bricks, and then one of them's under the tablet, so I can't. But that's probably better. Just use your elbows if you're.
It's only been like the last week, so I've not really thought it's a thing. I just noticed that they started doing it and then doing this stuff.
It's all coming from up here. Okay, so left leg, and then we're going to do that little dip. So just going to let go of the left leg, just dipping it down, just kind of letting it go rather than lowering it. It's just kind of almost like it's collapsing. And then just feeling the weight of that going into the right buttock. So now you should hopefully be feeling this in the right buttock. Okay, and then sliding that knee forwards, slide the right leg back, and now feel that stretch in the right quad. And then you might be able to get a little bit of left and right wiggle room. And then you can push all the way back up. Now tuck your toes under, walk your hands back, and then drop your heels to the floor. And have a little dangle here, so what feels good for you here? So softening the neck, relaxing the hips, bending the knees, and just releasing everything that you can down towards the ground. So you can let go of the head, let go of the neck, let go of the spine, And then when you feel ready, slowly uncurl. Keep the knees bent and just stack the spine all the way up. Okay, so we're going to do some silly walking. So these silly walks form part of these movements that work on the pelvic girdle. So I think we've done this before. We need to find your hip bones and then place your hands on them. And what you're trying to do is to make sure that they don't lift. So ordinarily, when we sort of perambulate or we move about, the hips go up and down. So if we were to walk, if I was to walk, it's a bit of an exaggerated kind of cat walk, but that's generally what happens when we walk. The hips swing from side to side. So with symphysis pubis, that's going to be really, really uncomfortable if there's a lot of separation at the front of the pelvis. So with SPD, what we want to do is isolate the pelvis and use other muscles. So I'm going to try and see if you can keep the hips completely level. So you're just going to start by lifting the right heel and lowering it down. Lifting the left heel. Lowering it down. Now it's quite difficult to tell yourself if you can't kind of feel it. So I'm going to get you to snitch on each other. So you're going to look at the person opposite, and obviously we've got more on one side than the other, but you're going to looking at the hands on the pelvises, and if you can see somebody doing this, you're going to snitch and call them out, because that's not what we're trying to do. It's not strengthening the pelvic girdle muscles. Okay, so same thing again, so just lifting the heel, one at a time. It's quite nice to stretch the sole of the foot out in this way as well, so you can really exaggerate, kind of right up onto the toes, kind of rolling out through the sole of your foot, and as much as possible, keeping the pelvis completely level. Now if you feel easy, no problem at all, what you're going to do now, lift the knee. Lower it down. Lift the other knee. Lower it down. Yeah, it's quite tricky now, isn't it? Because again, we would probably, that's an exaggeration, but that is what would normally happen.
I feel like I need to go to the side when I'm lifting.
Yeah, you can shift. Yeah, when you stand on one leg, you naturally shift your weight over, but what you don't want to do is tilt at the same time. So it's okay to shift weight from side to side. You want to try and keep the pelvis level. It's actually quite interesting doing it because I'm doing it in front of the camera, so I can see myself quite clearly, so that's quite interesting. Okay, so if you've got that, do you feel okay? Everybody, so all the snitches, they're all alright, are they? Nobody doing it wrong? Now walk around. See if you can. And it's interesting because you have to really use your abdominal muscles, really use your leg muscles, trying to walk around without moving your hips from side to side. It does create a funny kind of a walk, but with somebody that had some quite significant symphysis pubis dysfunction, this would make walking so much easier. So
Looks really fun. Look around.
Everyone looks like a straight.
Is the concentration on everybody's way? Chicken. Like I can't change direction.
to go around in a circle, Jane. So even harder than walking when you've got symphysis pubis dysfunction is actually getting up and down the stairs. And so if you can learn to kind of articulate your legs in a way that keeps the pelvis neutral, which is why we were doing this one. If you can do this, keeping the pelvis neutral, then you can get up your stairs. Yeah, keeping the pelvis neutral. So if climbing stairs is uncomfortable, then this is the way that you do it. Okay. All good? So come back, have a jiggle, and bring. Shift everything around. Okay. Just gonna tip this up a tiny touch.
So is that like when you want what I've noticed on one and a bit more?
It's not quite the same. So yeah, waddling is just something that happens because you've basically got so much weight at full term almost down the pelvis that you have no choice but to walk like this.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Okay.
That's just waddling because you can't actually have your thighs here. You can't do this anymore because there's no room.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take the legs wide, but then you can't. It's very difficult to walk with the legs wide without doing a kind of a waddle. It's just lack of space.
Okay.
So it's not the same. So this is when the two parts of the pelvis separate and then create a horrible amount of pain when you move the pelvis because they're doing this. Sometimes they grind and click as well. People sometimes have noise accompanying it. So that's what we're trying to consider here and trying to give sort of alternatives if you feel that this is coming on or if you already have it. What were we going to do next? Oh yes, so we're going to do some quite just simple standing stretches. So one of the problems we have with SPD is kind of when we do the, all of the nice big poses, the big wide-legged stretches are not generally ideal. But we can do a similar thing, but having the legs slightly less wide. So you're just going to take the right step, right foot, which is one little step forward. So it's a lot of more of a shorter stance than we would normally have. And then you're going to interlace the fingers behind you and squeeze your shoulders together. Now push into both feet. Breathe in. And then as you breathe out, push into both feet again, but stick the sitting bones backwards. You're not really bending forwards, you're pushing the sitting bones away from you. So you're creating this gentle feeling of extension. And then to come up, push into the right foot, rise all the way up. Okay? So you're still getting a good stretch. In fact, you get more of a stretch actually. By having the legs closer together, it's more of a hamstring stretch. So just carry on and you can stay down for as long as you like. Push into both feet, let the sitting bones move back. Now, if you want to, you can stretch the arms and raise them up over the head. If you've got high blood pressure or detached retina or glaucoma, then don't lift the arms. And then when you want to come up, slightly bend the right leg, push the foot into hand. And just do the same thing again. Okay, now we're going to work into a balance. So now you're going to shift the weight into the right leg. Squeeze the shoulder blades again, stretch the fingers away, and just lift the left toes off the floor. Now again, with SPD, balancing is a bit tricky, so I wouldn't do it. Just keep the toes on the floor. If your balance is okay, you can explore lifting that back leg up. Where do you want to go to? So you might find you can go quite deeply here. And then gently come all the way back. Now you're going to take that left leg and you're going to wrap it around. And the best way to wrap it is to bend the right leg. So you can, almost like if you really need the loo, and you're wrapping both legs around. So the more bent the right leg is, the more the left leg can wrap around. If you keep the right leg straight, then you end up with a gap like this. If you bend the right leg, you can really snuggle the legs around each other. You can let go of the arms. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Let go of the arms. And then take the arms all the way up over the head, interlace the fingers, push the palms away, push the feet into the ground, but still keeping the knees bent, and then ease over towards the right side. And then come back to the centre, and then release. And do the legs. And then jiggle. So then you're going to step the right leg back now. Sorry, right leg forward, left leg back, and just have that very gentle step. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Push the feet into the ground
And then just lengthen the sitting bones away from you. So keep pushing both feet into the floor. Just allow the sitting bones to lengthen. Notice how that feels in the hamstrings. It might feel different. And then when you want to come up, soften the front knee, push the feet into the floor. And then the same thing again. So push the feet into the ground, lengthen the feet away. If you want to involve the arms, take them up over the head now. Keep the sitting bones moving backwards. Keep the arms extending upwards. And you'll kind of know when you want to come up, either the hamstrings will have had enough, you might feel that you need to take a deeper breath, you might have too much blood rushing into the head, so you'll know when it's time to come up. And then one more time. And then shift the weight into the right leg, come onto the ball of the left foot. And then you can either just stay on the ball of the left foot or you can lift the leg up. If you want to, you can lift the arms, lift the leg, and just deepen your balance as far as you want it to go. And then come all the way back. Relax the hands and now wrap the left leg around the right leg. And again, bend. Yeah, we've done that one, haven't we?
Which
Oh
one?
my God,
We've
we've done the
done
same
the
leg
same
twice.
twice.
We've just done the same side twice.
No, I didn't either.
I thought I must have got it
switched
wrong
over.
before, so I didn't.
No, it's
Yeah, I was
me.
just ignoring it, like
Yeah.
I did the other leg.
So you've done the other leg, so I've
I couldn't
basically
remember
done-
which leg I did, so
I had much sleep, so I
I've
have no
no
idea.
Yes, I think it's because I span round and I turned backwards because I actually, I've done the stretch on both sides. Yeah, so this time the right leg has to, well for me the right leg has to wrap around the leg, but for you it might be the other way around. Whichever way you haven't done.
no idea.
Take the arms over the head, push the palms away, and then you lean away from the bent leg side. So if you've got the right leg in the front, knees over towards the left side. And then come back up. Release, come down. And a little shake. Okay, so from here, just curling down. Bring the hands down to the floor and then walk your hands forwards until you can get the knees to the floor and then you can swing the legs around you. Okay, so as I was saying before, so sometimes stretching these outer sides of the thighs are quite nice. We've done a little bit of this already, and so now we're going to go a bit deeper. So you're going to bring the right leg up and over as far as it will comfortably go. You may need to have to turn the body slightly towards the left if you have run out of space. So you can slightly offset where you're going, but what you want to do is you want to stretch into the outside of the right hip. So you want to bring the right leg as far round the left side as it will possibly go. So you're getting that, some of you will get the stretch here. So this might get right into those areas again, Karen, when you're having those tight feelings. Now for some of you, you might be able to get the left leg under and actually go double. But again, the biggest issue here may be more that there's no baby, there's no room, rather than the fact that you can't do it physically. So you might have to just rely on doing this on one side.
Oh, that's stretchy.
Yeah, it's a really nice one, isn't it? Because it's the outer hip flexor.
Yeah.
Try and get your other sitting bone on the floor though, Rupinda, because you've kind of gone all the way over. So if you can you get your, I think it's your right buttock onto the floor as well. So you're in the mid. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's so tight on this side.
Is it? Can you ease that leg slightly forward? So bring your heel, yeah, that's it, and try, is that better? But you want to you want the stretch.
If I turn my leg forward.
You can do it, you've got no stretch at all, have you? So where's the place where you can go where you've got, you remember I said that, the dull ache?
Yeah.
Where you've got the kind of like stretchy pain rather than something that's too sharp. So this is a part of the body that we rarely stretch, because nothing we do in everyday movements will ever put your legs in this position. So kind of crossing over the midline and internally rotating. Unless you're a dancer or you do ballet or you do yoga or any other things, you know, that take you beyond the normal range of movements. So this is a really, really good one to do. It's a great one for SPD because you're counteracting the opening at the front of the body. And what often happens with SPD, in my experience, is a lot of people with symphysis pubis issues have got tight sacrums. And so what happens in the whole of the pelvic girdle is that because the sacrum remains tight, the only place the pelvis can open to stretch, to become bigger, to, you know, contain the capacity of your baby, is for the symphysis pubis to open. And so sometimes loosening the sacrum can be really good. And you can give a real rub to the back of your pelvis. So use your fingers and just rub all over the back of your pelvis. Now that's the quite lower part, right by where your tailbone is, and then either side of the tailbone all the way up to the base of your pelvis. And if you're doing this and you're going, ow, 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 yeah, you've got a tight sacrum. So sacral massage is really, really good for this, as well as doing this this stretch. Okay, all good. So now, gently, and by the way, I don't know, yeah, give the legs a, I teach the partners that in a partner workshop. So it's worth the money just to come and train your partner up to massage you, actually. You know, it's almost a bonus that they're going to be useful during labour. They're quite useful during pregnancy as well. And then a little bounce up and down. Okay, now the left leg comes up and over. And just see how that feels. You want to get the heel as far back towards the buttock as you can. And then some of you might even be able to get the right leg under. And again, you might need to slightly turn towards the right. So the right is where you've got a little bit more space. So if you've got an excessive baby in the way, then not that there's ever an excess of baby.
I'm using Pippa as my reference. If you
Just lean back.
Okay, I'm just going to hold this for a few minutes, because the longer you stay in the pose, the more you can get the stretch out of the hip. So, oh, better on that side.
I know. Still painful, but better.
Yeah, well, you're sitting square. You're sitting,
Yeah.
you know, neutral. Oh, nice. Yeah, and that highlights something that I come across all the time in yoga, is the fact that we are not symmetrical. Two sides of the body quite often very different. And then if you want to, you can sacral massage on this side, and a bit of rub. And can't move. You'll fall over if you move your hands. Okay. Right, and then you can undo, and then give the legs a bit of a shake. So I'm hoping that for Emma and Karen, that's going to all feel actually quite nice, because there are lots of reasons for the SPD, and one of them may be the sacrum. So we can do lots of strengthening stuff.
I don't feel that stretch at all. But as soon as you massage that, that's the only bit that seems tight.
Yeah, so it could be. Yeah, so you can get your partner to rub and stretch over the sacrum. Okay.
That one, you know,
Pushy one.
I think that really helps.
Yeah, that's the labour one. But it's helping now. Yeah.
But I do that because it's like it takes some pressure off it.
Yeah. We do it in the class sometimes we've done it on each other. Some of you have done this, haven't you? Like we've done sacral massage on each other. So from time to time we will do it in the class as well. Okay, can you come over onto your right side? And we'll do a little bit of clamshell. So lie on your right side, support your head in your hand and then bend the knees and have one knee on top of the other, the ankles together. So with this move, the ankles are going to stay together and you're only going to move the top leg. So as you breathe in, just let the knee lift up. And as you breathe out, let the knee come back down. Now, it doesn't need to be a really big movement. In fact, if you do a big movement, the chances are you're going to use your hips to get the knee back. So what you don't want to do is do that and then rock backwards, okay? Because that's not actually working the hip muscles. Now, it's moving your back. So you want to keep the hips level. Make sure that that top hip isn't tilting backwards. And just lift the knee, lower it down. And you should feel it in all of these muscles. So glute muscles and the hip flexor muscles. I'm going to do 10 if you can, so keep count of how many you're doing. And as I said, you know, bigger necessarily isn't better here. You want to do it just so that you can feel the muscles in the pelvis working. Are you counting? 110. Okay, and then there's an underneath move here which you might need to place the top leg over. So what we want to do here is straighten the right leg. We want to bend the left knee, but to keep the pelvis neutral, you might need to just rest your knee on top of a brick, or if you haven't got a brick, I can give you this one, or you can use your pillow or your rolled up blanket or just something. You want to have the right leg free, so don't trap the right. So right leg is straight and you push the heel away, the right leg, and then the top leg you just want completely out of the way. So Lizzie, you'll need to move the left foot forwards. That's your right foot, your left foot. Yeah, it'll make sense in a minute because we're going to lift the lower leg. So if you've got your top leg on top, it's going to get in the way because we're going to do this.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to swap like that?
No, because the right leg is the straight leg. So the right leg straight on the floor, left leg up and over. But you want everything on the, which side is it? Forwards. So bring your knee towards me on the top leg. Bring your foot, yeah, that's it.
I got it now.
Got it.
Sorry, it takes me a while.
That's all right. So you're going to push the heel away on the right leg and you're going to lift it and you're going to lower it. Okay, then try and do 10 of these if you can, but you might not be able to do 10. So this is working the inner muscles of your thigh, the adductor muscles. So again, these are very important muscles in terms of providing a lot of the structural integrity of your pelvis. And if these muscles are weak, then that can contribute towards having a weak pelvic girdle.
That's just opening on my bottom hip. I just can't do it.
Yeah, sometimes it can. So it's not. It's better to do this on a squishy blanket, or maybe put your cushion underneath the hip. But we're going to swap over in a minute. So. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to swap over to the other side. But yeah, it's quite common. I have it on one side, only one hip, and then it's really uncomfortable. Yeah, so if you find if it's aggravating your hip, the hip that's on the ground, you just need to put some more padding underneath it. Is it better with a cushion under? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with our clamshell. So knees together, ankles together. Support your head in your hand. And then just 10 of your clamshell lift. So just lifting the top knee, keeping the ankles together. And again, not aiming necessarily to go for the biggest movement you can get, but aiming to get a feeling of strength in the pelvis. And then when you've done your 10 stretches, you're going to straighten the left leg out along the ground, bend the right knee and bring it up and over, but you may prefer to actually rest the leg on top of your pillow or a block, just so that you're keeping the hips fairly level. Push the left heel away from you so the toes are pulling towards you, and then lift and lower. And you're going to do 10 if you can. So keeping the leg straight, pushing the heel away, and then just feeling the muscles on the inside of the leg. And when you're done, I'm going to take that leg away. So we're just going to finish. Is there anything? Have a look at my sheets. Anything else you need to do? Don't put a lot of them together. Okay. So we'll finish with a sort of slight back bend, which is good for strengthening the back, it's good for strengthening the buttocks. Nice to stretch the front of the body. And then you're going to have quite a long relaxation, so probably about 15 minutes, if that sounds all right. Nobody usually says, no, can we have less relaxation? So what you might want to do, because you're going to come and lie on your back to do this bridge pose, and then you're going to kind of come into your comfortable lying position from there. So if you need anything when you're lying down, can you have it kind of ready now, so you don't have to sit back up and then get yourself, maybe go,
Relax and then you do it.
anything you need to do before you relax. So just making sure that you've got everything you need. I'll get ready to put the nice music on as well. And then you're going to come and lie down on your back. You may need room behind you to take your arms back if it's something you want to do, so just kind of make sure when you go down that you have got space to do that. And then come and lie on your back. So another way of easing out sacrum and lower back pain is to bring the knees up. So in regular classes we bring the knees into the belly, which you can't do now. So you can actually bring the knees up either side of your baby, kind of like upturned beetle. But then if you kind of roll the legs around, you get a really exquisite massage into your pelvis, into the sacrum. So this is this is a self-massage for the sacrum. And there's various ways that you can move the knees which will give you a different pressure into the pelvis. So one of the things you can do is move the knees forwards and backwards, and you might get a really nice kind of rolling massage through the sacrum. Or you might prefer to go from side to side, or you might prefer to circle around. So you'll find whatever works for you, so you can kind of make your own bespoke massage technique here. And then dropping the feet onto the floor, and have your feet hip distance apart, and have the feet fairly close in towards your body. And then if you want to have a stretch for the upper body as well, you can take your arms back behind you onto the floor. And what I would recommend to really get a decent stretch into the shoulders is to take the arms a little bit wider than parallel. So take your elbows wider than your shoulders and take your wrists wider than your elbows. So you're kind of making a soft Y shape. Now push your feet into the ground and just keep pushing the feet into the ground until the hips come up off the floor. And then maybe have a little jiggle around here. So maybe move the hips from side to side, maybe lift them up and down, so whatever feels right for you. And then gently peel the spine all the way down to the floor. So we're going to do an isometric stretch here. You're going to imagine you've got a beach ball between your thighs, and you're going to imagine that you're squeezing the beach ball together. So you're using the muscles on the inner legs, but you're not actually bringing the inner legs together because you've got this imaginary beach ball between the legs. So the next time you breathe in, push the feet into the ground, squeeze the beach ball, and gently rise all the way up from the ground. And then as you breathe out, gently peel the spine back down. Try and get every part of your back to touch the floor in a kind of rolling, sweeping way. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing again. So you're going to inhale, push the feet into the ground, squeeze the beach ball, just allow the back to roll away. And as you breathe out, gently peel the spine all the way down. So you're going to carry on in that same way, but you're going to use the B breath. So every time you breathe out, you're going to hum gently, as if you're kind of lulling yourself and your baby with that humming sound. So do 3 more rounds. If that feels comfortable, you can of course stop at any time if you wish. And just going at your own pace as well. So don't worry if you're the only one humming. Just be true to yourself. Once you've finished your last one, you can gently release the arms down. And if it feels nice with the back, you might want to just gently take the knees to one side and take the knees to the other side. So just doing a gentle spinal twist to ease out the lower back, so you can move your body in whatever way feels conducive before you come into the full reclining position. So to relax, you can still lie on your back if you're not 20 weeks, so anything less than 20 weeks, you're still fine to lie on your back, but after 20 weeks it's much better to come onto your side. So at that point, choose which side you want to lie on, and you can place a pillow either under your head, or you might prefer actually to place the pillow underneath different parts of your body. So if you're getting a little bit tugging through the abdomen, then you might prefer to put your pillow underneath your bumps. This is your round ligaments, so you might need to support them. If you've got any pelvic pain, really lower back pain, you might want to put a brick or a block between your thighs. I've got lots of spare ones if you want anything to put between the legs. Do you want to have a block, and then you can keep that under your head? Yes. So, does anybody else want any blocks, bricks? Thank you. So I'm just going to come and put the lights on here. And then from here, just resting yourself down into your position. I'm going to turn the lights down. So just encouraging your body to rest. So there was an article that was kind of going around Facebook, and I put it on my Facebook page this week, the Mama Birth and Baby Facebook, and it was some research that had been done on the benefits of working with the breath and working with relaxation, and how it has it can have a much improved effect on your labour, which is obviously something that in the yoga world we've known for a really, really long time. So there was nothing new, but it's really nice when these things are kind of looked into from an evidence-based perspective. So, you know, the relaxation that you do at the end of the session is not just necessarily for you to kind of feel more comfortable and to kind of just rest from the perspective of that you might just be tired, but it's also a very important part of kind of preparation for labour. So having this access to relaxation, having access to working with your breath is really, really important. So just noticing how you feel at this point, this moment. Being aware of your physical body. And just noticing is there any tension, any physical tension in your body? Are there any feelings of tightness that you could potentially relax? Sensation of the breath. Just rising and falling. And then become aware of your right hand. Begin to cultivate a sense of spaciousness and softness in the palm of your right hand, in your right hand thumb, the index finger. the middle finger, the ring finger, the little finger, the back of your hand. Send that softness, that feeling of spaciousness into your right wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, right up into the right shoulder blade. Feel a real sense of spaciousness around the shoulders, usually the tightest, most congested part of the body. And then continue to take that spaciousness, that softness into the right rib cage, the right waist, the right hip, the right thigh, the knee, the calf muscle, the ankle, the sole of your right foot, the top of the right foot, and then the big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and the little toe. Cultivate a feeling of spaciousness into the whole of the right side of your body. And then shift your attention into the left hand and begin to cultivate the sense of spaciousness and softness in the palm of the left hand, the back of the left hand thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. Let that softness and spaciousness radiate into your wrist, the lower arm, the elbow, the upper arm, and all the way into the left shoulder. Again, creating spaciousness, softness into the left shoulder joint. And radiate that sense of spaciousness into the right side of your chest, the right side of your waist, the right hip, right thigh, left side, my mistake, all the way down the left side, so left armpit, left side of the ribcage, left side of the waist, left hip, left thigh, left knee, calf muscle, ankle, the sole of the left foot, the top of the left foot, and the big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. Be aware of a feeling of spaciousness around the whole of the left side of your body. Bring your awareness into your back and cultivate a feeling again of spaciousness and softness into the upper back, middle back, lower back, into your pelvis, and just radiating that sense of spaciousness, softness into your belly. And just visualize your baby moving into this spaciousness. cultivating this feeling of softness and spaciousness around the belly. Giving your baby the space they need to grow, to stretch, and to move. And let your attention just rest back on your breath. Feeling once again this rhythm, the rhythm of expansion and then relaxation. Breathing in to the expansion, breathing out to the relaxation. Then bring your awareness back into your body. Become aware of all the sensations in your physical body. Be aware of the ground beneath you. And then slowly begin to externalize your awareness. So being aware of ground beneath you. Be aware of the people that you're lying next to. You might want to gently open the eyes into the semi-darkness of the room. And you might want to bring a little bit of movement into your body. You might want to move your fingers and your toes. You might want to start to stretch your body, moving in whatever way feels right for you. And then taking your time, very gently bringing yourself back up into the seated position. Close our practice by just sounding the three sounds of Om, the R, U, and letting those sounds resonate not just in your own body but also into your baby. So taking a breath in. Thank you so much for your attention and your presence this evening. Have a wonderful week. Namaste, Yogini Mamas.
Yeah.